What up, my man in society? It is your host with the most, Shadow Loke, back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like and comment. It is free. You'll help my channel get into the algorithm. I would highly appreciate it if you go ahead and do that. You know what I mean? That truly helps out my channel. You know, as a matter of fact, we're not going to start until you guys do it. Do you guys subscribe yet? Are you sure? Nah, I'm just playing. All right. Now, I've been getting asked for this subject for a while, right? In my other channel. I know it's another gang topic, but we're going back into history, so that's the reason why I decided to talk about it here. One thing that I was getting asked for a lot is that why in old graffiti of homeboys do you see the swastikas? You know, in a lot of varrios, a lot of graffiti, old pictures of graffiti, you see the swastikas. Right? And people came up with their own theories and stuff like that, because that's what always happens when people don't know or can't get a hold of somebody to know the information because they themselves don't come from this world. So they start to assume or concoct their own versions of the tales. Now, it took me a while because I actually got to get a hold of, old homeboys. And I had to get a hold of, multiple older homies from certain barrios just to verify the stories that they add up, right? That they make sense, that everybody's on the same page. Sometimes I get different stories and sometimes they do align. You get what I'm saying? So I like to verify, and getting, taking for these older homies, and I appreciate, the camaradas. It takes a while, because I gotta work on their time. So from what I have gotten of why they use the old swastikas before, I know people, you hear them say that it's because Sureños are racist, it's because of the racial thing, and woo. First of all, this was before any of these cliques were even established, like organizations, right? So none of that existed yet. So we're talking about different times here, none of it existed. Second of all, when people take, certain pictures of graffiti, it had already been there for a while. Back then, you didn't have graffiti remover people going and, removing the graffiti like that as soon as it happens like nowadays, right? So graffiti would be there for a long-ass time, bro. You get what I'm saying? So different times, folks, because I know people will be like, nah, because they had just written in organizations were around because, it was taken in this year and this year. And it's like, bro, there was no graffiti remover before, you crazy fuck. Excuse my language. Is that people don't think about other stuff just because they want to be so sure of themselves that they just try to just throw a bunch of stuff without really actually thinking about what they're saying. Now, it wasn't because they were down with the Nazis and all of that. Like I'm saying, people back then didn't care about none of that stuff. You think these homies were worried about the Nazi parties and Hitler's speech and ideologies? They could care less. And plus, at this point, they weren't even aware of the, Holocaust and what had happened. That happened after the war when people started being aware of the atrocities that were actually occurring, During the time of World War II, I mean, you would hear whispers, but not to the point where these individuals who are young, because these battles are barely starting, so they're young kids, are not really, paying attention to shit like that, bro. They're kids. You think kids are going to be sitting down wanting to know about politics and news and stuff like that? No, they don't. They only know about the basics, and that's it, that they're at war, and because of these guys and woo. Another thing I'm going to say is that the swastika doesn't mean the Nazi party. I know it's attached to the Nazi parties and everything like that because they grabbed that symbol and used it themselves, but it is not their symbol. That symbol has existed thousands of years before the Nazi party, adopted it, right? Because that symbol means good luck, right? In certain cultures and regions of the world. From beginning to end, a pattern of good luck, the crosses intertwining with each other. That's what it means. That's why you see in ancient artifacts, you see that symbol on there. It's not that they were Nazis. It's just that the Nazi party grabbed this symbol because they like what it stood for and everything like that and attached it to their political moves. So that symbol existed before the Nazi party. That symbol is not theirs. I get it now, it's like you can't really see that symbol without seeing them or whatever, so they polluted what it actually really was or whatever. But that's neither here nor there, because neither did these young Chicanos even know this information about what the swastika actually symbolized, right? Basically, what I have gotten is that they had used the swastika sheer based on it looked cool. Before they would write the X to separate, stuff and stuff like that. And they liked the way it looked. It looked cool. Right? It was different from the norm. And here's another thing. At the time, them and the government were not seeing eye to eye. We're talking about the mistreatment of raza. We're talking about leading on to the Zutsu riots. We're talking about a whole lot of chaos, right? So this was their form of saying F the government, their form of, they're at war with the government, they're anti-government shit, right? Because they knew that these fools would be pissed off, because these people were writing that shit. So it had nothing to do with blacks or the Nazi agenda, nothing like that. It was sticking it to the government, F you mother effers, we're at war, kind of like how you guys are at war with them and stuff like that, right? Because remember, these varrios had been around before World War II, you know what I mean? Because World War II didn't start until what, 1939, I think? Started in 1939. I know the U.S. didn't get involved until 1941. It started in 1939. The U.S. got involved in 1941. And I think it ended in 1945 because it was only around for like about 6 years, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But anywho, that's neither here nor there. So these neighborhoods had already been around long before then, right? So there was already conflicts and issues, between these young Chicanos and the, government that was set in place because of the mistreatment. Like I said, they weren't treated fairly, and they, you know what I mean. And like I said, there was a whole lot of people that were angry and stuff like that. So it was like their way of sticking it to them. Basically, from individuals who I have talked to, older cats. I'm talking about homies. I think homie said he was 46. So homies that already, 46, 86. Homies that were already 86 years old who were put up on game by their older homies. Well, one was 86. I think the other homie, he was 72. And then I had the other homie who was about 80 or 81. So I talked to like about 4 to 5 homies, right? And they were all roughly around their 80s. I think the youngest one was in the 70s, but that way, más o menos I get a picture of, what exactly I'm dealing with here, of where the swastika came from, because I myself was curious. But basically what I got from it is that, yeah, they thought it looked cool, and they didn't care about none of that black thing, and none of that. There was worse things, that was on their plate. Not only that, before they got along with blacks really, really good, because like I said, they were getting mistreated too. They were all on the same boat, bro. They were all treated like scum. You know what I mean? Remember, black people were not the only ones getting lynched. Hispanics were getting lynched too, and that's something that I know that the school system doesn't teach. They always leave that part out. I don't know. I don't understand why Hispanics were getting lynched too, as well as blacks, bro. So we felt their pain. We know what it was. So there was no different. Go look at old pictures, of these old varrios. You see how their varrios have a lot of black homies in it, right? So it had nothing to do with that ideology. You know what I mean? There's even a picture of Bloods and Crips, old graffiti of theirs that has swastikas in it too, because it was their form of rebelling against the government, right? And because it looked cool. Basically, that's what it comes down to. I wish there was a more, crazier explanation that maybe, these vatos had a secret meeting with Hitler, or because, they were smuggling some fucking German scientists to, build some kind of chemical gas. And, yeah, but there was none of that, bro. We're talking about these were young kids, bro. These vatos hadn't had their veteranos yet, and they weren't like that. These were still these kids who were like 15, 16 years old, bro. You know what I'm saying? So there was none of that, I wish I could have gave you guys a more chingon, reason for it, but in reality, that's what it comes down to. So there's nothing more, nothing less. So, but like I said, people are still gonna believe what they want to believe. Nah, it's because I rape. Bro, like I said, I'm not here to convince you, bro. You can believe what you want. I'm simply here to tell you the facts. But that's my opinion. What do you guys think? Leave it in the comments. Have you guys seen these pictures of the swastikas? Were you guys aware of this? And yes, there is some varrios that still use the swastikas. And the reason for that, from what I was told of homies that, who are young bucks in the game, it's just for, how can I say? paying homage, the nostalgia, because they used to see the old graffiti of their barrio with the SWAT, and that's why they do it. It's like, to give it that old school feel to it, like their older homies used to do. That's the reason for that. And like I said, homie, we're all homies, dog. There's no reason for these vatos to be lying to me. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna tell me straight up when we're having conversation what it is, bro. So I know you guys wanted it to be because we're racist and all that, pero sabes qué, Spencer? I can't come here and bullshit or tell people what they want to hear, bro. I could only come and tell the facts, bro. Can't lie. I'm saying, shut up, we up.